Okay, welcome everybody to the Public Works and Committee of Common Council. It's Tuesday, December 5th. This is Jim Freyer. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Um, Monique, could you call the roll, please?
You do that, Jim.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Okay, Melissa Murray, she's here.
Here.
Nora, not yet. Barbara is here. Juwan, you're here. Darlene, you said is here? Darlene, I see you. Okay. And Nora, you're here?
Here.
Okay. And how about Heather? Does somebody want to just send maybe Heather has to get a same situation. Let me see if I can get that quickly. Sorry. Right. Okay, I just sent it to her again. Okay. The agenda tonight is we will open it up to public input for, do we have anybody on the line that would like to speak this evening?
We do not.
No. Okay, so since we are late, why don't we just dispense with public input for now? Moving on to new business. There are a number of items. We have about 11 items tonight. Start with the first one is the approval of the minutes of the Public Works and Recreation, Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee joint meeting on Tuesday, October 3rd. Does anybody have any comments or corrections?
I'll make that motion for you.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or corrections? Hearing none, I'll ask for approval of the minutes. Please raise your hand. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yep. Do I have to abstain? I have to abstain, right? Yeah.
If you weren't here, you have to. If you weren't on the council, then you have to abstain. So we have
abstain.
Barbara, Darlene, you voted yes.
Yes.
And Dewan, you're going to, and I'll vote yes. Dewan, you have to abstain as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And Nora approves. Okay, so that's approved. Number two, approval of the Public Works Committee meeting dates for 2024. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Melissa, thank you. In the package, there are minutes. There are a list of the Public Works committee meetings for the rest of the year. Did everybody have an opportunity to take a look at those? Can I have a motion on those? Oh, you gave me the motion. I'm sorry, Melissa. Anybody have any comments or questions about it? Okay, all those in favor of the meeting dates for 2024, please raise your hand. Aye. 1, 2, 3.
Aye.
Darlene?
Aye.
Okay. Dewan?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Okay, number 3 is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary to accept a 633 square foot sidewalk and 181 square foot roadway easement located at 32 Knight Street, a 430 square foot sidewalk and 179 square foot roadway easement located at 41 Knight Street, and a 75 square foot sidewalk and 2 square foot roadway easement located at 22 North Street, in conjunction with the planning and zoning application number 2022-28 CAM/SPR, 32 Knight Street Property LLC, 32 Knight Street. Do I have a motion on this? Nora, thank you. This is just to facilitate some easements that will facilitate the planning and turning for access to the developed property. There's no financial impact on any of these easements. Is there any questions? Any comments? Hearing none, I'll move, take a vote. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Juwan? Juwan, are you voting?
His hand's up.
Yeah, my hand's up.
Okay, good. And Darlene, okay, so that's unanimous as well. So moving along, number 4 is discuss and vote to schedule a public hearing to increase the fee for proposed adjustments to the public works rates and fees to be set by the Department of Operations and Public Works fee schedule as per attached. The public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, January 2nd, 2023, which will be our next meeting at 7 p.m. by video conference, teleconference. Do you have a motion on this? Barbara, thank you. This is just a change in some of the items on a very lengthy list of fees that are charged. There's only 3 items on here that are being changed. One is the solid waste costs that have increased, and then tree removal and replacement fees that have also increased. The cost to the parks, to the Department of Public Works has increased, and these increases reflect those increased expenses. Any questions or comments? Barbara?
Yeah, if Ms. Valadares can just give a little background on the history and the reason for the increases.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So what happened, we have a current contract with Wind Waste, and based on our contract, we have a fee that changes of July 1st. So we are paying a little more than we are charging people to dispose that. There will be another increase as July 1st, so we are increasing already, we're increasing the fee to be able just to meet exactly what is the cost that we're paying to hauling the material out of our site. So that is related to the solid waste. The other ones is just the tree removal permit and posting fee and the tree replacement fee. Actually, what happened is that the ordinance that was passed this year showed that increase, but our schedule wasn't being the same, so that's why we need to update that. So this is just to update to meet the current ordinance action.
Ms. Nadjelski-Eichner?
Thank you, Chair. And those increases all make sense. Obviously, we shouldn't be undercharging ourselves or absorbing costs, but I am, was curious when I look at some of these fees that have not been updated since 2006, 2002, do we need a broader updating of some of these fees? Are there other instances where we're really not covering our costs, or where an increase would be fair to the community, given that inflation and things have substantially increased since some of these fees were last set?
That's a great question. We actually look at the whole schedule because since we are coming in front of you, we would like to really update everything that would be out of date. And you're correct, some of them only got since 2016, one we have since 2006. So we also compare to some of the fees with other municipalities. For instance, the encroachment permit fee is one that we look, and we didn't see a reason that we need to increase. So that's why we are keeping the same fee to the residents. Only on the ones that really we're kind of losing money, that will be the solid waste hauling, and the ones that has to meet the ordinance. Everything else, it's remaining the same.
And just a little bit, up until the last couple of years, we were losing money on solid waste for 5 or 6 years.
Right, which we certainly don't want to do. Okay, well, that's helpful to know. I mean, I do sort of always wonder, I mean, are these in line with what the other municipalities are charging, or not sort of under? Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know then. Thank you.
Yeah, as a point of information, I know that when the BET was reviewing a lot of the expenses last year in the budget, one of the things that we did make a point of is that the BET should be looking at the revenues as well as the expenses at all times to see that we are recovering our investments as best we can. So that's a really good point. Any other comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor? Looks like unanimous. Okay, thank you. Number 5 is authorize the purchasing agent to authorize a sole source purchase order for Gabrelli truck sales for the purchase of one 2025 Mack GR 442F plow truck for a sum not to exceed $305,670.10. Account so noted. Mr. Torrey, do you want to talk about this?
Sure, it's going to replace.
I'll move that for you, Jim. I'll make the motion to move that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Motion moved.
So moved.
All right, so now that the motion moved, it's going to replace a truck that's from 1995. So we have 4 more of those trucks to replace, and then our complete 26 frontline trucks will be all within 2000s. We're, for the new council members, I'm Chris Torrey, I'm the superintendent of operations, by the way, so nice to meet you. Congratulations for winning. Welcome to the team. But we have a fleet management program that we used to have 2 trucks per year that we did. Now it's down to 1 truck because we're getting close to where we're starting to really replace trucks before they get to their useful life end of line. So if I can answer any questions, this truck is replacing a different plow truck that's in one of the top 26 plow routes that the city has in our geographical area.
And how many trucks do we have altogether?
35 heavy duty plow trucks.
And
so this would be one of 35. The 35th would be, at this point, would be put out for scrap metal because it's not really worth much more than that.
Any other questions?
So you said the old trucks is put up for scrap metal?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking you guys are selling it, right?
Well, we take all of the parts off of that truck till it's reduced. It doesn't run. It's pretty much a frame and maybe some body parts. So typically we would auction them off as the city's auction program, but no one buys them because it's LaJoy's buys them for the metal. So it ultimately becomes scrap metal that the city gets and goes back into the general fund.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor of this? Okay. Okay, thank you. Unanimous. Number 6, authorize purchasing agent to authorize a sole source purchase order to Freightliner of Hartford for the purchase of one 2024 M2 106 plus plow truck for a sum not to exceed $197,041.10. Account so noted. You have a motion?
I'll move the item.
Thank you, Nora. Chris, do you want to take this one as well?
Sure. This is also going to replace one of those top 26 trucks. The reason for the disparity in price is This is a smaller chassis truck that fits into some of our smaller areas of the city. I'm not sure where your respective areas that you represent are, but like Cottage Street area in East Norwalk is very hard to get a heavy duty plow truck through. So these Freightliners come with a V plow truck that can fit into areas of say 7 or 8 feet, whereas our other plows are 11 feet. So to get some of the tighter areas of town in Rowayton, we deploy one of these trucks. This would be our second truck deployed into one of the top 26 plow routes in East Norwalk. In other areas, Summit Avenue, for instance, and all the Golden Hill area, very tight with cars. And when you get a lot of snow, if we get a lot of snow anymore, it is very tough to plow with an 11-foot plow. So we're reducing some of our heavy duty 11-foot plows to V plows that we can get into some of the tighter areas.
How many of those do you have?
Right now we have just one. This will be our second.
What's the purpose of having two?
Because we have more than one area of town that has congested areas of parked cars. So it's either like a lot of houses aren't zoned for driveways, so a lot of residents park on the streets. When you have snow, you can only pack it in so far before you start damaging cars or property. So the smaller trucks plow the streets in a smaller area. If that makes sense.
I understand that. No, I'm saying like two. So when you have two, basically if it's like a storm tomorrow, you just bring them both out at the same time and hit different areas at the same time. Is that the purpose of having?
Well, so yeah. When it snows, just so you guys know, let me back up a little bit for the new people. We have 26 plow routes. So before it snows, there are 26 trucks in those 26 plow routes before the snow even hits the ground, typically. In addition to those 26 trucks, we have 11 trucks in a major storm on the trucks, helping out those 26 trucks, doing City Hall, hitting problem areas, schools, bus routes, whatever's going on at that time. So we can have as little as one truck on the road or as many as 40 trucks on the road in any given snowstorm. So these two smaller trucks would be deployed in the top 26, and they would be assigned to a plow route. East Norwalk, this particular route is Route 12. If you want to look it up, it's on the city's webpage under our snowplow routes. So this truck would be in Route 12. The truck right now that we have, the Freightliner, is in Route 26, which is Rowayton, and it's very tight for that district to plow the snow.
Anything else?
Nora, I think, has a question, sorry.
Good. Nora, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just quickly, also, these trucks also serve to do street sweeping and what am I blanking on the term, storm drain clean out as well when we're not doing snow removal, correct?
All of our trucks are all-season trucks, meaning we use them throughout the year. Of course, the smaller the trucks are, the more they're used because of doing asphalt. You don't want to do them off a truck that's 6 feet tall already. So the smaller the trucks are, and it's kind of, we're at a time where we're not getting 12-inch storms 10 times a year. We're getting sleet, freezing rain, snow, slush. So the smaller trucks were able to utilize more seasons throughout the year than just winter. So we're trying to keep the balance of, if we got a bad, harsh winter, we're prepared for it, but we also utilize these trucks more frequently throughout the year. And it keeps them running longer, the oil keeps flowing through them, and they have a longer life cycle.
Great, thank you. My other question, I think this is something we talked a little bit about last year and haven't revisited in a little while. We had talked about the possibility of conversion to propane or natural gas. I know we obviously understand that trucks at this size and are just not, electric is not currently even in the ballpark of options. But have you had any conversations or done any research on the possibility of cleaner fuels as an alternative for some of these larger trucks?
It doesn't exist right now for the larger vehicles. It does for smaller fleets. If you have a propane, kind of like a larger version of a home propane tank that you can actually fill up, but not for heavy duty trucks. We recently went to a conference in California, and they're, net zero by 2035. And a lot of people don't realize to charge a bus overnight, you have to have 50 feet of clearance in between each bus that's charging. So we would have to have 50 feet of clearance in between each large truck or each fire engine or each whatever large apparatus you come up with. And a lot of municipalities, including Norwalk, does not have the infrastructure for that right this second. So, but we have looked into that, yes.
Because I know obviously our school buses are running on propane these days, so it seems like an interesting option to evaluate for some of our heavy duty trucks as well.
It's not the running of carrying 26 kids, it's the pushing 20,000 pounds of snow.
Okay, excellent.
Ms.
Thank
Murray?
you.
Ms. Murray, you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, my question really, Nora kind of covered it. I was looking at our environmental impact. Just curious, tell me, you might have already said this, but it's a 2024. What's the lifespan again that you expect on this truck when we purchase them? How long?
We have trucks from 1995, so okay. I'm expecting the city to have this truck for 25 years.
Gotcha. And what other things can we do to just lessen what do you already do to lessen the environmental impact, seeing that we don't have propane for these trucks? I mean, is there ways to reduce idling, or is it just, it is what it is?
No, all of our trucks are state equipped, whatever the emissions are. And to give you an example, 5 years ago, the same truck was $230,000. If you look back at our budgets, now it's $305,000. The reason why is because our trucks, if you idle them too long, they will literally shut down and regenerate themselves because of the carbon emissions. That's a state program. We cannot buy a truck that does not have that. So that's why the cost is going up and up and up. So our plow routes, it takes a little bit longer to plow snow because sometimes you'll see a plow truck parked on the side of the road. It's because this truck literally will shut down for 30 or 45 minutes and regenerate the carbon emission system so it's not putting as much carbon in the air. And all of our trucks are equipped with that. And not the older ones that we're replacing from 1995, but every truck that we have bought since 2006 have the carbon emission system in it.
Interesting. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Always here to help.
So last question for me. So the other little truck that was purchased, was it purchased in 2006 or was the little one purchased in 95 as well?
No, the last little truck was purchased last year. It's only 1 year old. This would actually be its first winter, because last winter we had it, but it really didn't snow enough to evaluate it. So we bought the second one this year. So this is our second year of going with the Freightliner. One, for the cost, it's half as much as the heavy duty, and it's easier to work with, and hopefully it works out.
So we have one small one and we just need two small ones. That's basically what you're saying.
No, I'm saying next year I may ask for another small one. We have 4 more to go to get to where we replaced every truck in our top 26 routes. That's our fleet management plan. If you guys want to change that plan, we could talk about that. But right now, that's our plan.
Yeah, all I'm thinking about, and I don't mean to be so anal about it, but I'm just thinking of, we buying all this equipment, and well, we don't obviously know if this was last year. We didn't have much snow. I don't know what we're gonna have this year, but is it really worth like purchasing all of these, equipment if it's not really going to be utilized?
Mr. Weeks, let me just add to that. We are not expanding our fleet. I just want to emphasize that. We are just replacing the old ones. And regardless of the amount of snow that we have, we need to have enough trucks that we can hit all the plow routes that we have within the city.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. But if you don't want to give us the trucks, then it's just going to take that much longer to plow the snow. And I'm okay with that. You guys are the council. I'm asking for the equipment to maintain the level of service that we're doing now. When we got Hurricane Sandy, we had 57 trucks on the road because that's how many trucks we have.
Any other questions? Call for a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Darlene, did you have, I'm sorry, Ms. Young, did you have a question? Or
No,
you
I was just raising my hand. Raising my
Okay,
hand.
got it. Okay, number 7. Authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute the First Amendment of the October 24th, 2023 agreement between the City of Norwalk and Kelowna Masonry, Concrete, and Asphalt Paving, LLC for project TMP 2023-3, concrete curbs and sidewalks on Rowayton Avenue for a sum not to exceed $170,000. Account so noted. Ms. Valderas, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so
Got to move the item, I think.
Or
Did we
move the item? Sorry.
Miss Nora had her hand
I'll
up.
get it. I'll get it. I'll get it.
We'll get it right.
I'm just going to move this thing along as fast as I can.
You're doing great, Jim.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So this is a change order to the existing contract for the project sidewalk at Rowayton. We are using the opportunity, since the sidewalk will be installed, to also add drainage to the area where there will be sidewalks.
Any comments? Any questions? Is Najelski Agner? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Nora, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I was saying, Jim, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to slow you down. But Vanessa, I'm just wondering if for the new folks, you would take literally just 2 minutes to explain the sequence of events, the utilities drainage paving sequence, just because this is something that's going to come up a lot and it might be helpful for people to very quickly.
Could we just
Yeah, but
there's one
what
more.
about if I have one item for that? Do you want that I explain when I get
And
the item? What about that?
Great.
It'll be
Okay.
perfect.
Thank you.
I need to keep the attention until the end, so I have to have some stories to tell them.
It's a huge
Absolutely.
finish. It's a huge finish. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, great. Unanimous again. Okay, number 8. Technical correction to the Common Council action of July 12th, 2022, item Roman numeral 7B-0.1 for an on-call agreement between the City of Norwalk and Olmsted Tree and Shrub Care Company, LLC, and Minuteman Land Services, LLC, for the supply and planting of trees and shrub. Task orders not to exceed $700,000 in the aggregate between the two companies. Add accounts designated for the Norwalk Tree account, which is accounts 380000-4805 and 3800005790, and to the accounts as so noted. This is just a technical adjustment where new accounts that are identifying the Norwalk Tree account from accounts that were more generic in the past. So there's no change in dollar value or anything like this. Okay,
I'll move that item for you. I'll move that for you, Jim.
Very much. Any questions? Any comments?
Darlene, really quick, is this the tree company that we that the young fellow was talking about that was planting the trees around Norwalk?
Oh, I don't remember. I can't remember.
These are fairly decent sized companies. They've been around.
Right, we have a contract with both of them that we put a bid out about a year ago, and those are the two companies that got awarded.
Yeah, I think this is the same tree company.
It's for two companies here. So what we're doing is we're just adding accounts so we can use for the contract. It's based on a grant that was given to the city. And then when we receive a grant, it goes to kind of a special account. And that's why we have two accounts there, and that those accounts should be included so we can make use of it on the contract. That's what it is.
Any further questions? Yeah. All those in favor? Okay. Unanimous. All right. Number 9. Authorize Harry W. Rilling to execute the First Amendment of the April 12th, 2021 agreement for household hazardous waste collection between the City of Norwalk and Clean Harbors Environmental Services, Project 4079, for an amount not to exceed $64.90 per household and $39 per half household. Account so noted. Do I have a motion? Ms. Najelski-Eichner? This is basically the first option on a multi-year contract that we're just exercising that option this year. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, not seeing any. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Number 10, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment between the City of Norwalk and M. Rodano for project DRG 2023-3 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for sum not to exceed $1,020,060 with an option to extend for 2 additional terms for 1 year each. Accounts so noted. 10B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract between the City of Norwalk and M. Rodano for project DRG 2023-3 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for the sum not to exceed $102,000 and $102,006. Accounts so noted. Do I have a motion? Ms. Najelski-Eichner. Now, Ms. Valadares, if you might want to just explain how this is put together and the what the process is. There's quite a bit of backup that goes along with these, by the way. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to take a look at it, but Vanessa, if you don't mind, just wanted to explain how this process works.
Yeah, so first I'm gonna start answering Nora's question in the past, because this is perfect that goes along with this item. So for those that are new to our committee, the engineer has a very holistic approach when we're paving the roads. So we do have a paving program that now we have a forecast of 3 years. Used to be 5, we changed to 3. And as soon as we put that list together, there is a lot of values that goes in consideration, and not only inspection, but also a formula that we apply. We come up with a list. After we have the list, we check all the underground utilities, not only ours, but also with the utility companies, if any major projects needs to be done there. After that, we do check the drainage. The way that we do is we have cameras, we CCTV the existing drainage on that road, and also the sewer. So if there is any upgrades that needs to those systems, we do it with that. And that's what this contract is about. So what we have a separate on-call drainage contract that we can have our contract there in advance of paving, so we can really start upgrading the drainage structures that will be needed prior to it. So we implemented this program about 3 years ago. That's why we had, the first one was bid with also a 1-year extension that expired. This is the second time that we bid, and it has been extremely successful. 2 reasons. First, is much more economical just to have a separate bid, a separate contractor to take care of those small drainage items. And also, we are much more efficient now in paving the roads, because when we're gonna pave the road, before we didn't know what to expect. So as soon as we're gonna pave the road, we realized that we need to do some drainage work, and then we use the contractor that was paving to do those repairs. Now we'll go first, we pretty much inspect, we fix them, and usually, because we're being so ahead and we have the list, we are pretty much now almost 2 years ahead of our paving list. So this contract is pretty much working already on our 2026 paving streets. So that's what the program is about. Another thing that we do after the drainage is we also see if any sidewalks improvement needs to be done. And then we finally pave. Do you guys have any questions about this?
That was the big finish. All those in favor?
Barbara has a question.
Oh, you have a question?
No question, just a comment. You know, just to commend the department for this 3-year plan. I think it's much better than what we had been doing with the 5-year plan, and it's much more efficient and in the long run saves us money. So I just think that the department has done a really, really good job around this.
And Barbara, I was going to ask that question around money. So it would be interesting to know how much we're actually saving, because it sounds like because we're being so efficient, it would be interesting to see what that looks like. If that's something that you're even able to generate, Vanessa, but I'm sure you should be able to see a reduction somewhere for saving. If there are savings.
I can actually try to look back to see if I have any records on kind of exactly what is the total value that kind of was saved. But one thing that I can tell you is that before, what happened is that we didn't have those items bid out. And we pay the contractor on what we call time and material, so it's T&M. So pretty much we pay kind of a premium of how much the guys were there, what is the equipment that is being used, and also with a markup on the equipment that they need to buy to fix. So now the biggest saving is that we bid that in advance. So it is very competitive, and we know what everyone has to put their price in advance. So we know exactly what will be the cost to do that job in advance.
And maybe there isn't a dollar amount attached to it. It could be time. And a lot of time when you're able to do the job efficiently and a little quicker and less, intrusion and traffic, I mean, that's a savings as well. So, and manpower. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to add to that. I think that when I first looked at the package, I came to the 3 some odd pages of numbers, and as I went through it, and we talked a little bit about it, it's very, very, very detailed. It breaks down over the 3-year period exactly, step by step, very methodically, what has to be done. So, one of the things when we talk about maybe saving money, we are probably being a lot more efficient and being cost conscious about having a very detailed approach to how we're going to cost this out. We're also keeping the contractors' feet to the fire, because we are specifically telling them what to do. We know what the issue is. We know what's going to happen. It's not, as we said before, it's not just time and materials. The guy comes in and says, "Oh, I found something else. now all of a sudden you've got this project expansion. So I was really very, very impressed by the detail and the degree of specificity that the team went through to come up with this estimate. And I think that's why we get a better price in the long run. So anybody have any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, last item this evening is number 11. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement between the City of Norwalk and AI Engineers for project PSC 2023-1 on-call surveying, mapping services in connection with various projects in the City of Norwalk. The agreement is for a period of 1 year at a sum not to exceed $200,000 with an option to extend for 2 additional terms of 1 year each. Accounts so noted. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move
Ms. Najelski-Eitner. This is this is in order to bring on a licensed surveyor to do some of the more technical duties that are going to be required in certifying documentation for easements and so forth. Ms. Valadares, do you have anything more that you want to bring up on this?
Sure. So this is our, again, a second time that we put this out, this RFP, RFQ. We started this again 3 years ago, where we have an on-call surveying company. Unfortunately, we had a surveyor on our staff, and then he retired about 3 years ago. So it is very hard now to find a surveyor, but we realized that actually for us, it's easier to, well, I would say not easier, but I would say it's better that we actually engage a consultant and a surveying company. So because we had a very successful experience with the on-call surveying and now that contract expired, we put again another RFQ. The team evaluated a couple of companies that submitted, and that was unanimous that AI would be the best one to serve the next term. I also just want to let you guys know that this contract will only not be under DPW. TMP also is going to be using them for their future projects. And so between both departments, the team chose AI for this task.
Any other? Ms. Najelski-Eitner?
Thank you very much, Ms. Valadares. And I know this exceeds the scope of your obligations, but as a homeowner who has also discovered the amazing challenges of the shortage of surveyors in Fairfield County, have you guys ever had conversations with NCC about getting a surveying program launched here in the city? It certainly seems like the business community here could benefit from having such a thing.
The biggest problem is not the training, is they have to go through a test. We even have one person that does here, staff, that he's not licensed, but he does a lot of the basic stuff for us. We have the equipment and all that. It's only really when we need some type of a signature that has to be sealed that we
large scale projects.
Yeah. And the problem is that you have to have X amount of experience working under a surveyor. So the Connecticut license, requires a lot. That's why each day there is less and less people that want to proceed into that career. So I think that, yeah, we haven't talked to NCC, but I believe that the biggest challenge is not to be trained, but also to obtain the license.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Darlene?
I said aye. Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, that concludes it for the new business. At this time, we we can go through some updates. Well, could we start with Chris? Do you want to talk a little bit about the your tree work?
Sure, I'd love to talk about it. It's not often that I get to say that in the fall tree planting program, we planted 227 trees, and we only took down 20. So we're moving in the right direction in that regard. As the backup says, 3 trees were removed on Parks property, and 17 in the right of way. So the right of way is in between someone's private property and where it really meets the road. So when it says the city right of way, for the new council people, that's what we're talking about. It's that whatever piece of property, and it actually changes from street to street. Some 1 foot, some it's 0 feet, some it's 16 feet. So that's where our engineering department comes in, so we know that right of way. So if anyone has any questions about the tree program, we do most of our tree work in-house. We have 2 bucket trucks. We have 2 tree crews that we employ. They work not 24 hours a day, but they work all year round, weather permitting. They also plow snow. So you'll find that a lot of our staff, besides plowing snow, they have other jobs like masons and drivers and laborers and grass cutters throughout the summer, spring, and fall months.
So if someone has a question about a tree that is in front of their house, they should call you to
customer service. They call customer service.
I mean customer service. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, they should call customer
Any kind
service.
Of comment. Good.
We'd gladly go out and tell them plus or minus without having an actual survey of if the tree is in the city right of way. And just so you guys know, sometimes trees grow a little bit bigger, and if it even grows into the city right of way, our ordinance says it's a city tree. So if you have a tree in front of your property and 5 inches of it is in the city right of way, it is a city tree. So that's what the law allows us to do, and it's actually beneficial to the city, so homeowners do not remove trees just because they don't want to rake leaves or shade. And with solar now, believe it or not, it's getting harder and harder to talk residents out of removing trees because of solar. They're like, hey, we're trying to help the community, and I'm like, not by taking down the trees. So it's a constant struggle that I hope that we have your support on to keep the initiative going on planting more than we remove.
And we just don't go there. I'm sorry, Ms. Young, I just want to clarify that we just don't go around the city taking trees down. So usually it's trees that can cause some type, or they're already dead, or they can cause some type of a hazard. And if we get a call and say, oh, I don't like the tree in front of my house, and can you please come and cut it? It doesn't happen. We'll go there, we'll look at it, but we're gonna say the tree is healthy and we're not cutting it down. I just want to clarify that.
So Chris, you just mentioned about how many inches over does it make the tree a city property? Are they, do you mean branches and that?
No, so not the part of the tree that overhangs a property. Okay. So under Connecticut tree law, just being that you brought it up, so if your tree overhangs the city property or any property, you can prune that tree as long as it doesn't do any harm to the tree, which means you cannot prune a branch that's more than 33% of the main trunk of the tree. There's a whole bunch of criteria, but so if you planted a tree 20 years ago as a memorial tree in front of your property, and somehow it started as a sapling at 2 inches and grew into a 40-inch oak tree, and now the oak tree grew into 3 inches of city property, the city takes liability for that tree. We take it down if it needs to, and we preserve it as long as it's living and it's not creating a public safety hazard.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
How does that work when it's on, if it's on state property?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. I am not sure what rules or guidelines the state goes by, because under state law, you're supposed to tag a tree for 10 days prior to its removal. There's a lot of criteria you're supposed to do, but I can tell you I've never seen a tree on state property along the Merritt Parkway or I-95 that was tagged. They're just removed. So I don't know if the state law doesn't apply to the state, but for the city, we do go by the state law.
Yeah, the reason I asked that, because I literally got a complaint today from someone talking about a tree that they're trying to cut down over near Van Zandt Street, and once again, I'm new to this, and they coming for me for answers that I don't. So I was curious.
So I do have an answer for that though. So
customer service.
If you contact Jim Barnes, the state arborist, he's going to say, refer to the local tree warden, which is me. So that inquiry, even though it's on Van Zandt Street, they're just going to refer to the city ordinance. At that point, we can address it. And if it's close to the firehouse, I think I've gotten this request before.
Well, it's not close to the firehouse. It's actually 25 Van Zandt by the train tracks, because they're trying to do rearrange.
This is which I can explain to you about those trees separately out of the meeting, Mr. Weens. I know the feedback on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
I definitely would love to talk to you about that, because they coming to me, and I'm like,
yeah, that's fine.
But always refer them to the customer service.
That's yes.
Or click and request.
Yes.
Or that.
Same thing.
Same thing.
So, yeah, but honestly, it was beat into my head earlier today that it's a great way to follow up on requests to make sure that things do get done, and that's a great way to make sure they do get done. So tell everybody that if they have a question, they can tell you about it, but you should have them also put a request into customer service.
And that was the issue. They did, and now they're kind of like, I guess it's a time crunch. It's like the 12th of December. They're cutting those trees down, and they're really trying to fight to keep those trees up.
I'm not part of that, so I wish I could comment more on that as the tree warden. But customer service, we created that as a department, DPW, in 2006. And when you call in, it's logged. When a supervisor goes out and looked at whatever you called in, that's logged. So when you call customer service, if you called 4 times, it's logged 4 times. And if we went out 4 times, it's logged. And it's closed after everything's complete. So it honestly is a great way to keep us transparent and your constituents as a segue. We have an asset management program called CityWorks that all of customer service requests go into. It generates a service request online to our supervisors. Supervisors go look, they have computers in their trucks, they put it in as notes, and we have a paper trail all the way to the completion of that service request. We also track work management through the same software, but it's keeping track of man hours to do that work. So I'd be happy to, as part of the demonstration that Jim brought up earlier on the 20th, show you how we track service requests and how we actually do work as Public Works to serve the public.
Okay. All right, any other questions on trees? I'd like to, maybe we could move and get Tom Szabo to talk a little bit about the waste management. And there's a couple of items in a couple of sheets of statistics in the package that we got, and maybe he could explain those to us.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So we do keep some detailed records on tonnage, whether it's at the transfer station, collected curbside. We track it all. So far, month to month, it's pretty standard. But as you can see, compared to last year in September, we did collect quite a bit more curbside tonnage. I can't say for sure what that is. I've only been here for about half a year now. But it's good to be able to see those things. And especially now we're working on a lot of different recycling programs, like our iRecycle program to help recycle more cans and bottles. We have the food scraps drop-off bins. So we're really working to make sure we can reduce those tonnages. That helps save a little bit of money. And the same goes for the recycling as well. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. I know there's a lot of information here, so figure I'd give you just a general overview.
So Tom, do you have any outreach programs that you use to try to foster more recycling or more composting drop-off and so forth?
Yep. Yeah. So this past summer, I had done some tabling at the summer concerts at the beach. It turned out to go pretty well. A lot of people were very receptive as I was kind of educating them on recycling, as well as other city programs like the food scraps drop-off. I'm going to start working on promoting that a little bit more. Because I know a lot of people, if they aren't going to the transfer station or if they don't know someone enrolled in the program, that one can be, hard to find out about. The open house was very successful. I had a table set up with recycling information, and I talked to probably over 100 people that were definitely very engaged with it, providing feedback too on, if they're really happy with the yard waste collection, the bulky pickup and things like that. So definitely plan on continuing to expand the recycling education efforts. That'll definitely improve our recycling rate and kind of drive down our landfill contributions.
Jim, can I ask a question?
I was just gonna say, Miss Young, you have a question?
So, I think you did a mattress program. Did you do something like that? How did that turn out?
Yeah. So this year we held, I think, 3 mattress recycling programs in total. This past one was our most successful one. We collected 50 mattresses, and those are all kind of funded through a state extended producer responsibility program. So it was at no cost to the city to collect those. And those all go for recycling. They take them apart and then recycle the fabric, the metal springs, and then the wood.
And it's broken down by area? So would you be able to say how many you picked up in South Norwalk or East Norwalk?
For the mattress, no.
For the mattress.
For that program, it's a drop-off at the moment. Right now, like our bulky collection, sometimes we'll only collect 1 mattress. Other times there could be 5. So we haven't quite been able to work that into like an effective collection where the city's going out to pick them up.
Okay. And I know that the department has had some amazing what do you call it with the garbage? I can't even think of the word, but recycling and the food composting. Some great success in areas. And I know I think I'd mentioned before that somehow we need to be able to implement something in South Norwalk, and particularly maybe within the housing development, starting some sort of program where we can do that a little bit more.
Hey, Darlene, congratulations on your council presidency. That's a great idea about the housing projects. One of the problems that we are run into is wherever we have food composting, it has to be a manned site for 8 hours a day, meaning someone has to be working on site, working there for 8 hours a day, and that's under the state permit. That's what stops us from having it at other places throughout the city other than the 3 that we have now. or 4, sorry.
So, but we can go over the numbers that we're having on food and composting.
Yeah, so I think it's the next discussion item, but also kind of relevant to solid waste.
I think Nora's hand was up, right? I didn't know if Nora.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Nujelski, Eichner had her hand up.
It's actually related to this. So let's continue the conversation and I'll pick back up.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so for this past month, the transfer station and the Rowayton Community Center is for October. The transfer station and Rowayton Community Center tied for total tons of food scraps recycled, 6,300 pounds, with Cranberry Park coming in 3,300 pounds. Typically, we do see the transfer station and the Rowayton Community Center as the top 2 sites. Cranberry Park is kind of increasing in its popularity. 2 weeks ago, I had someone come in looking to get a compost kit that we sell. And I asked, how did you hear about us selling compost kits or the food scrap drop-off program? And he said when he was at Cranberry Park, he noticed the signs and the bins. So definitely having the signs for the stations is helping kind of draw the eyes to that. And then I think with some more promotion, we can really up the tonnage for food scrap recycling.
And just so you guys know, for a little history, Rowayton historically, since the concept of this, has done twice as well as the rest of the city. So we are catching up. I hope Tom Livingston's watching at home. Tom, this is for you.
He's at the composting site right now.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a lot of that, or I should say some of that also comes through the school too. I know the Rowayton parents have been very active in promoting this. So that's another alternative that we should be looking at too, is going through the schools. And it's also very close to where the school is, where the dump is. So it makes it's very easy.
Also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We've also looked into, being that we're talking about it, food digesters for possibly Fodor Farm or Cranberry Park that would actually turn the food scraps into soil. So if we have community gardens, what a perfect spot for a digester that people can dump their food scraps, and 24 hours later they can use it as dirt in their garden.
Yeah. Ms. Nujelski, Eichner, you had a question?
I did, and that's a perfect segue. So I'm really excited about this. I'm thrilled that Cranberry Park is catching up. I think it's been terrific to have 3. And Chris, I very much take your point that there are complications with the requirements, and particularly in terms of having manned sites. Although I hear Jim's point, schools would be fabulous locations. They are manned. They're already doing it. And Rowayton is not the only elementary school doing this. I think several of our elementary schools are currently doing this. Parents are dropping their kids off constantly. I currently drop my food scraps off at Rowayton when I drop my daughter off for early program at school. Would be even easier if it was at the school building. But I think in general, this leads to, now that we have Tom on board, thank you, Tom. So glad you're here. Is this time to maybe get a working group together around sort of a more comprehensive composting plan, looking into this digester idea, looking into the larger question of whether we could be composting our yard waste instead of trucking it out, coordinating with Parks and Recs on their need for organic material for their organic land management program? We're hearing lots of related sort of issues, and I know that the team has really been thinking about all these different parts and pieces, and now maybe we're time for some comprehensive planning. I'm curious, Chris, Vanessa, Tom, sort of your reactions to that.
I think this is a good idea. We're just trying to first finalize our solid waste plan. Because as you are aware, we have a contract that expires. We are using our first year extension. So that as of now is our priority. So that's what the team is focused on. But definitely after we wrap that up and we have the procurement of that done, we're definitely gonna focus on that, because we do not know based on this study how the food composting will fit into it. Because that's something that also our consultant is taking consideration.
We also recently learned that elementary age kids are actually still bringing snack to school, and they actually eat in the classrooms, not the cafeteria. So we're working with the schools to see if we can get these compost bins in the classrooms. And it would be great if they had where they could just march outside and dump them in, and we collected them, similar to Rowayton. It's easy for Rowayton to do it because they can just march out the back of their school, dump it at the library, and then march right back.
Yeah, and I'll try
to
get of the other schools that are doing it. But I've talked to a couple of people who tell me that actually there are a couple of other elementary schools who are already in process. And Ms. Valdez, obviously the solid waste contract, is the key here. And I'm glad that the consultant is already kind of, raising these food composting issues. So maybe you could also update us. What sort of is the status on that? When do we expect to get that report? Are we going to have time to sort of grapple with some of these composting issues in relation to that report?
Yes. So we're hoping that we're going to have some type of a base report on maybe end of January.
Okay, great.
So
thank you.
Ms. Young, you have a
my last thought was, you mentioned that there are these composting stations at the elementary school, and so since we're building a school in South Norwalk, how do we now start to think of what that looks like at that school, and particularly as being a drop off, as being a place where we can do some real composting there and make it educational as well. So I think
Darlene, that's fantastic. And I think that should be our first school with a digester, honestly. And
yes.
If you have a community garden, it would be great for South Norwalk residents to drop off their food compost. And as Public Works, we could even help spread it in the garden. Great idea.
Okay. Great. We'll talk more about it.
Yes. It's really very, very important, particularly in light of the fact that we have negotiations coming up in the future.
And I also can I also interject this too, because even now, if we're talking about building over Meadows Garden, what would a composting station look like in a public housing, this public-private housing development? What does that look like? And I think moving forward with all the rest of the developments that are going on, slated to begin, we need to be thinking about that. But I think when we're talking about South Norwalk and the density, I think it almost needs to be a part of plan if you can incorporate it. I just think that needs to be part of it. I won't say any more on it. Thanks.
Absolutely. Ms. Smith, I'm sorry, then.
No, it's okay. Just to add to that, I mean, I'm really pleased to hear that there are several schools that are doing this, because when you implant this idea in the kids' heads, they take it home and they carry that with them throughout their lives, to recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle, to compost. So I'm really thrilled to hear that. And I hope that it extends to all of our elementary schools and then into the middle and high schools. It's great.
Ms. Murray, I think you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just building off what Darlene said, I think obviously it needs to start at the schools and in South Norwalk. I think that's just so wonderful. But also, I think she also mentioned other developments. And so like the large apartment complexes, for the most part, those people will use schools. They have children, but we also have, say, senior citizens that are not necessarily driving. We have Ludlow Manor here in East Norwalk, where it might be harder, but they're able to get out for like a short walk. So maybe at some point, Nora talked about a working group. If we develop this more, maybe we can start thinking about some of those populations as well to incorporate.
I just need to add one thing. I'm sorry. I think all these ideas are great, but I just want to remind everyone that we only collect garbage within the fourth taxing district, and commercial and developers is not part of the public works. So, so to expand the program, it will be a major change on all other solid waste collection that we need to go throughout the city. So that's why now, while we're developing this plan, we're looking on everything on bird's eye view to try to see what it is, what we need to be incorporated or not. So, so as of now, Public Works do not do collection at the schools. As of now, we do not do collection on the housing authority, and we do not do any collection on developers, neither commercial. So that's why, yes, I agree. There is a lot of things where we can increase, particularly the food composting. But as of now, we are just trying, our focus today is how we can serve the residents better and what will be the boundaries for that. Maybe what we need to do is like more of a citywide initiative that then goes beyond just the public works, you know, that then we can really reach out and maybe do some changes, because now it becomes like a charter, an ordinance change to be able to expand the program to some different areas that as of now we cannot cover under our statute. I just want to remind you guys of that. I'm not saying that I'm against the opposite. I'm very open about it, but this affects a lot of other things. It's not just simple say, oh, this is a good idea, we're just gonna roll it out. We have to go over a couple of things to be able to implement.
Yeah, it certainly has to be well thought out, the whole process involved here.
But that doesn't mean that, to Nora's point, that we can't start a public-private partnership with these entities and start the conversation.
No. I'm just saying that we have got to be, as Vanessa says, we have to be aware of what the entire process is. Got to look at the whole thing. Where the one thing we don't want to all of a sudden have is tons and tons of compost sitting in the Rowayton library and nobody's going to take them away. You know, what are you going to do with it now? So, you know, you got to be careful what you wish for. We're running a little late on time. Do you want to say anything about the waste, the yard waste scale that's going to be closed for a while?
Yeah, right now the construction for we're getting a new scale installed. The construction is going to start this week. So we've had to close the scale down, and currently we're diverting all the traffic to the transfer station. Right now we're able to manage the flow of traffic over there pretty well. So there's not any backups or, you know, traffic spilling outside of the transfer station. We've advertised for it pretty well. And we haven't really gotten any major complaints or anything from it being temporarily closed for construction.
And just a little history on the current scale. It's a few years in the works now. I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition. And it's mainly for tractor trailers when they're leaving our site with yard debris. We have to weigh the truck up, the tractor part, and then we have to weigh the back. It's not as accurate as it could be, and we're paying for that by the ton. So this is a great project. I can't wait for it to be completed. And thank you for funding it.
Great. So, Jim, do you want to give us an update on some of the upcoming projects and where we stand?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who are new to this, the listing that you see over here, the first section, the construction section, are the ones that are ongoing, actually being built at the moment. Things we've done during the year. They basically broke it down into 4 categories. So these are our paving projects, our sidewalk and curbs, major drainage projects that we're doing, and 2 bridge rehabilitation projects. So the starting with paving, our paving projects are mostly complete for the year. Where we're winding down now. The major portion of the paving itself is complete, we're just waiting for what we refer to as punch list items, adjusting to people's driveways, making sure that everything's cleaned up, putting topsoil and seeding places where we had to dig up and refurbish. And so that's what we're working on right now. And the sidewalk and curbs, basically the same thing. The major portion of this has been completed up to this time, but we are still finishing our punch list items for those as well. The drainage projects, which you see over here, we have two of them, Chatham Drive and Cosset Road storm drainage. That is also the major portion of that. The actual storm drainage itself, which was a large project, is complete. All utilities are in the ground, properly bedded. And we're just, again, working on our punch list items to make sure all the paving is in place properly with that. The Dreamy Hollow project, which is the first one there, DRG 2019-1, that is a very large project over in the area of Saddle Road and Daphne Drive. And that's an ongoing project. It's progressing well, but just a slow moving one because of the extent of work that needs to be done over there. So as of right now, we're about 60% complete. They will continue working through the winter for this because we're not doing any type of major paving over there just yet. But because the drainage itself can be installed during the winter months, weather permitting. Nothing major catastrophe with that. And then the last item there, the BR 2022-1, Bonnybrook Road and Cannon Street, those are two bridge rehabilitation projects. We were preparing the bridges over there. And again, same with that. We have substantially completed all of that, and we are just finishing up our punch list items as well. The 467, the one before that, the RA 2022-2, 467 West Avenue Utility Infrastructure Upgrade. That is a project that we are supporting the redevelopment group for. It's an ongoing project. We'll continue into the winter months. The contract has made significant progress, and we are providing inspection services for that. Our staff has done a lot this year. We're finalizing everything and tallying up everything that we need to get. And for the next meeting, we're hoping to have a very accurate assessment of metrics. How many miles of roadway we've done this year, along with sidewalks, any other infrastructure that we have. We'll report that accordingly. Now, for the next two sections, we have, being that the construction is for the most part done, we're advertising a couple of projects, and we're also in the design phase for a lot of them. We're evaluating a lot of areas that we're going to be doing construction work in. And these are basically listed here below. They each have their own unique situation, so it's probably not productive to describe each one. But if anybody has any questions about any one of these, I'd be happy to address them.
Yeah, Jim, can I just ask, what is the when do you estimate that you'll get to the sidewalk on the Cannon Street Bridge project? I see that the work is done on the bridge, looks great. And I see it's in progress, but I'm just curious when you'll get to the sidewalk.
The sidewalk, well, that's actually not, if you're referring to replacing the existing asphalt sidewalk that's there, well, that was not considered part of this project. That would be a separate project itself. That needs to be evaluated as per for the rest of our infrastructure. So, but that was, replacing that sidewalk was not part of the actual scope of work.
I know it wasn't initially, but my understanding is that was looked at later.
So what happened? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So what happened was that we had an internal discussion here, Ms. Smith, and what we did, we restored before before the bridge, because we probably gonna expand the scope on what will be the sidewalk there. So instead of doing now and then stopping and maybe redoing again in few months, we talked to the administration, the mayor's office, and they asked us to pause that. So we're gonna kind of look if we should expand, maybe realign a little bit that corner, and then we're gonna do it properly. So with that, we still need to go now back to the design board, figure it out exactly what was gonna get done. And then we're gonna finalize. So that was kind of the instructions that we got, just to restore as it was before.
Okay, thanks, that's helpful.
No, thanks for asking. I should have updated that before.
Anything else on that, Jim?
No, there's nothing else. I mean, I guess unless anybody has any particular questions of any of the projects listed here, we'd be glad to explain things.
Anybody else have any other comments, questions? I just
I
want
just
to
have
do.
one thing. So if I'm sorry, I just want to kind of say, you know, this is the last meeting of the year. Yeah, and I know that we have a lot of new members, but I want to particularly thank the ones that was with us all this year. You know, I know that this is, I cannot express how grateful I am to work with all of you and all your support. You know, I know we had 11 items on the agenda this month, and this is pretty much almost the average now that we are having. And we like to work for our residents, but we can only do that because you guys support us. You guys always ask us the right questions. You make us look on what we are doing and how we can do it better. And I feel very lucky that I work with this type of people. So I want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. But most important, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting our work. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for criticizing, and thanks for listening to us. I really, really appreciate that.
If I can just add that how much we appreciate your honesty and transparency and how well you explain all the projects and the thinking behind it, the financing. You just do an extraordinary job, Vanessa. We're lucky to have you. I did want to just comment that I love the owl, seeing each of you. It's working really well. It's better than you just sitting at the table. It's very good.
Okay, good.
Ms. Young, you have a question?
No, just a comment. So,
okay.
I'm grateful that I'm on this committee. I really, I thought DPW, like, really, but it has proven to be a very good learning experience for me. And it, some of the things that people have issues with, trees and traffic and lights and all those sorts of things that people come to you with, and you realize that's DPW, right? And you realize the amount of work, the snow removal, just everything that you all do. It's amazing the work that you do for the city. And Vanessa, I'm just happy to have been a part of you becoming the first woman director.
Thank you.
Of this department. I count it an honor to have been able to be a part of that decision. And so you have proven to us that we did the right thing. And you're bringing needed change to the department. And the guys next to you, I see that they support you. And if they don't, we'll make them.
They're the ones that do a good job that make me look good, They are the ones that deserve all the credit.
No, she does the work.
Absolutely. So thank you. And happy holidays to everybody.
And I just want to finish up with saying that this department really is the heart and pulse of the city. Without you guys being on the job 24/7, the city wouldn't be nearly where they are today, and would not have the infrastructure that will allow us to continue to grow. So you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And in the short time that I've been really involved in it, I've said it a couple of times, is that I'm really astounded by the amount of professionalism and detail and high level of work that you guys put in. So just keep up the good work. One other quick question before we let you go is that I neglected to bring up on the when we talked about the public hearing for the fee changes, that we should try to have that done in Spanish as well as in English.
Yeah, we'll do. We're gonna post the two on the advertising. We already talked internally. We were getting translated, so it is correct. And then we're gonna make the two posts for the public hearing, one in English and the other in Spanish.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair, I just have one more thing to say, please. I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to Monique Cipriano.
Yes.
you get all the notices to us on time, and we don't know all the things that you do to make this happen, but appreciate you for all that you do and your many years of service to the city of Norwalk.
She does.
Merry Christmas.
I agree.
Thank
I
you.
agree. Monique, you are so great. Delene, thank you as well.
Is Delene there
it's
too?
an honor to
Oh,
serve on this committee,
yes.
isn't it? It really is.
She was here before. I don't know where she went, but
She's Zoom 4.
Oh,
does anybody have any other comments or questions? Not seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, second.
Oh,
All in
second.
favor? Aye.
Have a great night, y'all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Have a great weekend.